Hi, third grade. We are here with our paired selection, A Plan for the People. We're going to go back into the story and reread certain sections to ask and answer some questions. For this lesson, you're going to need your Reader's Writer's Companion book and a pencil. You can pause the video and go grab that, and then open up to page 122. Let's start by reading our questions, and then we'll read each paragraph to find our answer. Our Reader's Writer's Companion book did us a favor by already numbering the paragraphs. So we have 4 paragraphs that we're going to be working with today. And again, just a reminder, we can tell when a new paragraph starts because there is a large space at the start of the sentence called an indent. And we see that at the beginning of each of our paragraphs here. Reread and use the prompts to take notes in the text. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to read each of these questions and annotate in the text and take notes. The first question says, reread paragraph 1. Underline words that help you visualize what the Philadelphia State House was like during the meeting. Now remember, when you visualize, you can see the things that are happening in the story in your brain like a mind movie. So an author will usually use descriptive words to help you get that visualization in your brain. So let's start rereading this first paragraph to find those words that help us visualize what the Philadelphia State House looked like. The meeting began on a hot day in May 1787. The delegates gathered together in the Philadelphia State House. All right, we're getting close. It's telling us where they're meeting. They closed the windows because the meetings were secret. They closed the windows so that other people can't hear the secrets. It was hot in the State House. When they opened the windows to cool off, bugs flew in. The delegates argued all summer in the hot, buggy rooms. Making a new plan for government was not easy or fun. So as I was reading this, there were a bunch of words that helped me to see in my brain what that Philadelphia State House was like. I saw closed windows, so I'm going to underline that. I also was able to visualize that it was hot, so I'm going to underline that. This helped me to visualize in my brain that maybe the people were sweating and maybe they had a piece of paper that they were using to fan themselves to cool off. The next thing that I was visualizing was all these bugs flying in the window. It was kind of grossing me out a little bit when I was hearing how the bugs flew in as soon as they opened up that window. So then the author mentions down here again that it was a hot, buggy room. So I'm going to underline these words, hot, buggy room, because the author is really trying to make it known that this was kind of a gross feeling kind of atmosphere. So I'm really seeing the struggle that they have endured while they're in this room trying to make all these important decisions. Our next question says, talk with a partner about what the delegates agreed and disagreed about in paragraph 2. Circle the things that they disagreed about. So we're going to read paragraph 2, and as we read it, we're going to look for things that the delegates disagreed about. Some delegates wanted one person to run the new government. Others thought a group should be in charge. Ooh, I would say that was a disagreement. They're not on the same page here. They don't want the same thing. They want different things. So that is a disagreement. Let's continue reading. They all agreed on one thing. A group should make laws for the country. But they disagreed. Oh, we're about to hear something they disagreed about. But they disagreed on how to pick these leaders. Let's circle that sentence as well. That's another disagreement. Let's see if we can find some more. The famous inventor and statesman Benjamin Franklin attended the meetings. He wondered how the groups could ever make any decisions. All right, so that looks like we found all their disagreements. They had a hard time agreeing on who should run the new government, and they also disagreed on how to pick those leaders. So now that we circled what they disagreed on, it also asks, like, what did they agree on? We don't have to circle or underline or write anything for that, but we should at least talk about what they did agree on. So what they did agree on was this. It says, they all agreed on one thing. A group should make laws for the country. So even though they disagreed on how many leaders and how to select these leaders, they all agreed that at least there should be a group to make the laws, so that they could collaborate to make those laws. It wasn't just one person. The rest of this question says, why is a summer of arguments a good heading for this section? Use your annotations to explain. So this section is a summer of arguments, and we just did all this annotating, finding text evidence for the prior two questions. So why is this a good heading title? Well, we have learned that delegates argued over how many people should run the government and how the leader should be chosen. So this is a good title because it's really about their arguments to find common ground for the government. So let's write that on this line. Let's write, I learned from this section that the delegates argued over how many people should run the government and how the leaders should be chosen. Okay, you can pause the video if you need some more time to write this in your book. All right, let's move on to the next page. It says, underline the sentences in paragraph 3 that help you understand more about the Constitution. So we have 2 new sections and 2 new paragraphs. This question is asking us to focus on paragraph 3, which is the section Making a Plan. It wants us to underline the sentences that help us understand what the Constitution is about. Let's reread, and when we come across that answer, we'll underline it. The delegates wrote their plan and called it the United States Constitution. The Constitution was only a few pages long, but it was full of big ideas. The Constitution shows how our government works. Oh, that sounds like it is a part of our answer. It's explaining more about the Constitution and what it does. It says that people are in charge of the government. People vote to pick their leaders. These leaders run the government for the people. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to underline this whole last part of this paragraph because it gives us a ton of information about the purpose of the Constitution. It's not just explaining that it was a document or a piece of paper, it's explaining its purpose and why it was written. Again, the purpose is, it says, is it shows how our government works. It tells what people are in charge, how people vote to pick their leaders, and that these leaders run the government for people. So this part is explaining the purpose of the Constitution. Reread paragraph 4. Talk with a partner about how the author uses cause and effect to explain how the Bill of Rights was created. So when you have a cause, it creates an effect. Just like when it rains, that would be the cause, and the effect of rain would be that you were to get wet. Or if you planned ahead, the effect would be you to pull out your umbrella. So we're going to reread this and look for the cause and effect to explain the Bill of Rights. It says, circle why some delegates decide not to sign the Constitution. What was the effect? Draw a box around it and write it here. So we have to circle the cause of the delegates not signing the Constitution and then draw a box around the effect of their actions. A government that's fair to all. The delegates planning the Constitution met for 4 months. They thought the Constitution was a good plan. But not all delegates signed on September 15, 1787. Some of them wanted to make sure the government protected people's rights too. All right, boys and girls, this sentence is the cause. This is explaining what they did. Now we need to look for the effect. So what happened as a result of them not signing? A right is something you are allowed to have or do. In 1791, which is 4 years later, Congress changed the Constitution to protect the rights of American citizens. All right, boys and girls, that is the effect. Because they didn't sign in 1787, the effect was that years later, Congress changed the Constitution to protect the rights that they wanted. So go ahead and box in that sentence. Again, the cause is that they didn't sign it because they wanted to make sure that people's rights were protected. And the effect of that action is that they changed the Constitution to get rights to protect American citizens. Let's finish the paragraph. One right allows people to speak freely. These changes were called the Bill of Rights. So now that we've circled the cause and boxed in the effect, the next thing they want us to do is write down the effect here. So the effect was in 1791, Congress changed the Constitution to protect the rights of Americans. These changes were called the Bill of Rights. Fix my typo here. Take a minute and write that into your notebooks. All right, boys and girls, I hope you have enjoyed this paired selection called A Plan for the People. In this text, we learned a lot about American history that still benefits us today. Thanks for watching, and if you need to go back and rewrite anything, feel free to rewatch, pause, and write. Bye for now.